Live from the mist-enshrouded mountaintop fortress that is X&Y Communications headquarters, you're listening to the world-famous Mountaintop Podcast. And now, here's your host, Scott McKay.
Greetings, gentlemen. Welcome to yet another episode of the world-famous Mountaintop Podcast. As always, I am your host, Scott McKay. You can find me on X, on YouTube, on Truth Social, and on TikTok at Scott McKay, and also on Instagram at Real Scott McKay. The website is mountaintoppodcast.com, as always. And gentlemen, if you are not a part of the Facebook group yet, definitely head on over to the Mountaintop Summit on Facebook and join our group of guys who are getting better with women and becoming better men as we go. Today, I have a new friend of mine who is the co-founder and CEO of a firm called Aragon.ai, and he's out in the Bay Area, San Francisco, California. And wait until you hear what he's up to. Wesley Tian from California. How you doing, man?
Hey, great. I'm doing well. Thank you. How are you?
Yeah, man. Now, you have started a company that's in the AI realm, and you specialize in dating photos and also professional photos. Like, if you're a realtor or a doctor and want to have headshots, that's cool too. But what you do is you help people have pretty much infallible dating shots. The only catch that I think some of these guys are going to have to wrap their head around is you use AI to make them great. Please describe what Aragon AI does, Wesley, and how you arrived at the concept.
Yeah, so Aragon AI, simply put, is an AI photo generator. We basically take a few photos of you and we use AI to generate photos of you that look like real photos. Early on, they look like AI, they didn't look great, but now they basically pass for real photos and people can't really tell. And we're able to generate these photos in all sorts of different styles. Dating is a popular one for good reason, but we also do professional headshots, photos in all sorts of different styles for modeling, for real estate agents, you name it.
Yeah, fantastic. I have had a chance to sample your product, and it is as exhilarating as it is shocking to get a gander at the finished product for a first time. I've got to admit, how it works for those of you guys listening is you log into Aragon AI and you put your parameters in there, what I look like, male, female, what kind of body type you have. And then it asks you to upload pictures. And Wesley, you're picky. You have to have at least 6 pictures of yourself, and they almost have to be headshots already, can't be blurry or whatever, before the software can even get to work. But the finished product is very interesting. I put my body type in there, and some of them look like I'm 30 pounds into my next diet, and some of them made me look like Orson Welles, which reminds me that I need to stop eating carbs completely and never touch a beer again. So, like I said, it's exhilarating and how amazingly well it works, but, it's kind of a shock to the system to see them. Meanwhile, I put my wife's in there, and my goodness, she just looks vivacious and amazing. It's like, wow, I'd like one of each, please. Hers came out great. But my wife's got a lot more going for her in the looks department than I do to begin with. But what's the feedback you've been getting from customers? I'm curious.
Yeah, so for our main product, our professional headshots product, the feedback has been pretty positive. It saves people a lot of time, a lot of money, so they don't have to go in person for a photo shoot. For our dating photos product, people are able to use it on their dating profiles like Hinge, Tinder. Actually, I've used it for my Hinge dating profile, and I've been testing it out, and the results have been pretty good. Most people can't tell that they're AI, and the ones that do, point that out. It's a great conversation starter.
Well, you're a handsome devil as it is. I'm not sure how much help you really needed. But to that point, you're not enhancing people as much as just making better pictures. You're not fixing their nose or getting rid of blemishes and stuff like that, like some of the other software would. You're simply trying to make an accurate representation of the client, but you're doing it with, good pictures. Is that about right? Is that the mission?
Exactly. Yeah. We're basically just trying to, before, you have to go to a professional photographer in person, cost a few $100s, or maybe get a dating photographer. Some of them I saw charge a few $1,000s. And so, we're really trying to democratize access to, professional photography. So anybody can get great photos, improve their, dating profiles and, find the matches that they deserve.
Yeah, for sure. You're going to be going out there and hiring a photographer to make you look your best. And once the pictures are retouched and filtered and whatever it is that photographers do for a living nowadays, the finished product of the actual real photos that you took with an actual real photographer, costing more time and resources and several changes of clothes, etc., and which are indeed limited by the background you actually have, right? There's limitations there when you're in real life. Your pictures will actually not look any more photorealistic in the end than those provided by Aragon. And I got to tell you, I showed these pictures to my 17-year-old son who's extremely anti-AI. And of course, he didn't like any of them. He thought they were all ridiculous and thought his mom looked fake and stuff like that. But they most certainly do not. I mean, infamously, if you look at any business card from a realtor, she's got this glamour shot of herself. And then when you meet her in real life, I mean, maybe not so much. At least these pictures are, it feels so ironic to say this, Wesley, but they seem more of an accurate representation of the real person than something that's actually been actively filtered. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we've actually gotten that before. So one of my friends, he was getting complaints from, his friends that his LinkedIn profile picture looked like AI generated, but it was actually a real photo. And then, after he used our product, like it actually looks a lot more realistic than his photo before. So yeah, I mean, we basically like how it works is, we really like just, use your photos to train an AI model, and we use that AI model to generate photos of you. So we're not like, retouching them. We're not like adding makeup or anything or,
They're you, but they're just in focus with the proper lighting and with whatever background you want.
Exactly. Yeah. Like all sorts of outfits, backgrounds. Yeah.
It's more of an AI generation of a professional photographer experience than it really is any kind of modification to the end user personally.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So here's the deal. Here's the elephant in the room right now that we need to talk about here, Wesley. This ship has sailed. We are in the AI era. Anything you read about AI, they're telling you like, well, you know what? This is as big as the internet or color television or manned powered flight or the automobile. You're going to have to deal with it. It's not a fad. It's not going away. And oh, by the way, at this very moment in time, at the present, it is the stupidest it's ever going to be. It's only going to get smarter. ChatGPT has improved dramatically over the last 60 to 90 days. And we're recording this in March of 2025. So it's either lead, follow, or get out of the way. That's kind of what I told my son. Everybody else is going to have media pictures that look this good. And if anything, I mean, at minimum, the trade-off for looking like you have AI pictures, which, by the way, I think Aragon does a great job of being realistic. I think lots of people will suspend their disbelief that it's really you when they look at it very easily. But the alternative is to have less than professional pictures, unless you pay hundreds or even thousands for the professional photographer. And I've gotten professional photos done, and they weren't as good as the product you put out. So for sure, AI is here, and you're going to need to either use it to your advantage or it's going to be used against you. So what do you say to people when they're a little skeptical, like this isn't really me and I feel fake using this, even though it's an accurate representation of who you are? What do you tell people? I guess what I'm asking here is, what's your comeback for that objection?
Yeah, to your first point, I think it's true that this is just a tool. And, if you don't use it, you're going to be at disadvantage. People who are using, our tool are able to get more clients, if they're a real estate agent, if they're working with clients. And, if you're someone looking for a job or a date, people who use these photos are going to be at an advantage. And so I think there's no reason not to use it. In the future, most photos are probably going to be AI generated, and, no one's going to be able to tell. Even now, I think with our photos, I mean, if you have some skepticism in terms of, using AI, or you don't think it's going to be real, I would say, just try it out. We've got a lot of reviews of people who are hesitant, and after trying it out, they were like just, blown away. One person said it was like the first time they tried Uber. And so we also do have a 100% money back guarantee. So, if you don't like your photos for some reason, we're happy to delete them and refund you.
Well, importantly, you can also try again. You can change the parameters up a little bit. And if you don't like your body type or just didn't give you enough in the kind of clothing you typically wear. I mean, some of mine, it was kind of frustrating, Wesley, because I looked great in the picture, but there's no way I'm going to wear a brown V-neck T-shirt in my entire life. So it was like, oh man, I just wish I would have had, like a Henley on or something like that. But I mean, that's why you give, what is it, 80 or 100 examples?
Yeah, 100 photos. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, so if you don't like one, there's a better one further down the list for sure. I mean, I think if you get 2 or 3 good ones that you like out of 100 for dating, that's great. And of course, for a professional headshot, you're looking for that one that's just, well, head and shoulders above the rest, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think also like, one thing for dating profiles is you really want like authentic pictures of yourself, pictures of you at a library, playing your favorite sport. And so we also do have that option. If you do use our dating photos product, people can basically choose a hobby and, get photos in all sorts of different backgrounds and settings.
Right, because the nature of online dating photos, in terms of the vibe that they present, the mood that they convey, and the intent they have, indeed, is very different than a professional photo. So you do have the option that these guys can either go for the dating photos or go for the professional photos. But I would say there are probably plenty of guys listening who could use a good professional photo. I mean, as a podcast host, these guys know I have men and women on all the time. Invariably, Wesley, the women have just socko pictures for media purposes, and the guys are like, looking like Rick Moranis, like, a blurry photo with their hair all tousled up.
Yeah.
So we as men really need some help with this, don't we? We need all the help we can get is the best way I know how to put it, right?
Definitely. I think guys just have terrible dating profiles in general, terrible pictures. So definitely need all the help we can get.
So what happens when you use your dating profile pics as generated by Aragon.ai and you're thinking to yourself, there's no way I look like this in real life? I mean, this is something that women have dealt with for ages. They have the glamour pics and they retouch themselves and filter themselves, and then the chick shows up looking nothing like herself, and it's really humiliating for her. How do you mitigate against that now as a man using this product? Because, man, it does make you look pretty good.
I mean, I think it's kind of funny because, women, they might put on, like a layer of makeup, multiple layers, and they might look, much better in photos. Maybe they Photoshop the photos. They had a professional photographer. But for guys, I think, most guys, probably don't put on makeup and, Photoshop and retouch their photos and have all their, friends taking photos of them all the time. So I think honestly, like the photos that we generate for people, like they're going to look a lot more like you than, like most photos of women on dating profiles.
Now, I got a chance to play with your software a little bit, and it's amazing. I'm going to dig into it a lot more. Is there an option there where you can say like David Bowie me or like Robert Smith from The Cure me and make me look like that if you really wanted to? Or is that somewhere down the line for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, we technically could. We don't have that as a feature right now, but we do have a bunch of other styles. So you can create photos of yourself in like, Halloween style, Christmas, fantasy. We do passport photos, maybe as like a model. So we do have a lot of these like, cool styles like glamour photos, photos of, tuxedo, maybe at a wedding.
Now the tux photo would be massively cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Women think tuxes are hot. Any man in a tux has just gone up 2 points on the scale from 1 to 10 in the looks department.
Yeah. Tux, suits, you have like maybe like a vest. Yeah. All sorts of different options.
But you can't Gene Simmons yourself just yet, right?
Not right now. No.
Not right now. That's probably a good thing. Although it would be an eye catcher because let's face it, the more unique and intriguing the picture that you have on your online dating profile, the greater the likelihood you're going to get a woman's attention. Being generic is the kiss of death on an online dating photo. So like, could you theoretically do a picture like that famous Leonardo DiCaprio one where he's holding up the champagne and like, yeah, here's to you, baby, and make it you? Could you do that?
Yeah, I mean, technically we could.
You got to develop that filter right there, buddy. Get the copyright and make it so men can make that photo of themselves. Yeah. That would sell a bunch of subscriptions right there.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah, we don't want everyone looking like that though. So.
Yeah, I think I understand.
Yeah, but it is a great shot. Yeah, I'm sure it'd be a hit.
So can you cowboy yourself?
Yeah. I mean, we can pretty much do anything. I mean, basically imagine, you have this like AI avatar version, like an AI clone, if you will, and, you can dress him up or her up, however you want, put them anywhere. And yeah, like, and they look like real photos. So it's actually quite uncanny when you use it for the first time because you're like, wait a second, like I wasn't wearing that. Like who took that photo of me? So, yeah. Yeah,
it's a shock to the system. And perhaps a hidden value to this for the guys listening especially is with all the photos that are generated based on the different looks, business casual, wearing a suit, weekend casual, you can give yourself some amazing fashion ideas. just from your AI photos. I mean, that's like a secondary benefit, huh?
That is true. Yeah. Yeah. People have told us in reviews that like they got some inspirations for their wardrobe. So yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah. I mean, I look good dressed like that. I need to go out and get that outfit.
Yeah. Yeah. It's also the future for like, I think, not just photography, but also like, modeling and trying on clothes. Imagine you go to some like, some Zara like online and you can actually see yourself wearing the clothes. So that is the future. And yeah, we're trying to build that.
Well, I think we've talked about your product itself and what it's capable of, and I'm sure guys' interests are already piqued. And, I might as well not hold back right now. If you go to mountaintoppodcast.com/Aragon, Aragon, you guys can get at it. And it's not expensive. Do you have a coupon code for these guys, Wesley?
Yeah. So if you use Mountain 25, we'll actually give you 25% off right now.
Mountain 25. Fantastic. That sounds great. And these guys can give it a try. So if you get 25% off, what is it, $35 is a no-brainer compared to going out and hiring photographers and having to stand out in a field and change your clothes and spend half a day doing it. I mean, it sends out like 100 photos in like about a half an hour of generation time, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. So again, you guys can go to mountaintoppodcast.com/Aragon and have at it and use the code Mountain25 to get a quarter off, man. That's amazing. So let's turn our attention to online dating and the future of it in general. Obviously, you guys are bullish on the use of AI in the future. Where do you think this is going to go? I mean, this AI thing is just in its infancy, and you're already getting people kind of chirping all the time about how you can filter your pictures and how you can have ChatGPT write your narrative for you and make yourself sound like whoever you want to sound like who's cool and write it in their voice and all kinds of crazy stuff. And I already have both men and women complaining, Wesley, that they don't know who they're going to end up meeting when they finally agree to a date with someone, if they get that far because of the overwhelm, right? Everybody's just swiping right, swiping left, and that's the gig, not actually meeting anybody. It's just kind of feeding that proverbial dopamine rush of having people like me and approve of me. But when you get in front of someone, it seems like the person who was most authentic in their actual online dating profile, perhaps by now, despite use of AI, is the one who's actually going to be most successful out there dating. Because if you misrepresent yourself, and this concept is old as the hills, it's going to be embarrassing when you meet someone. They're going to go, well, ick, you're not who I expected you to be, and you're not nearly as cool as your profile said you were, and I don't even know who I'm sitting in front of compared to the pictures in the profile. Where do you see all this going? Do you think it's going to calm down and kind of center itself back towards authenticity, IRL? Because I've had some guests come on here and say that. Or do you think rather, I'm not sure this is the exact opposite end of the spectrum, but do you think people will just sort of get used to AI being part of our life and just deal with it? Which direction do you think we're going? Or another direction if you think so.
I think this is the future. Like, I think it's here to stay. The tech is only going to get better. Right now, you generate 100 photos. Most are passable for real photos. And the tech is only going to get better from here on out. So I think you're definitely at a disadvantage if you don't use AI for your photos online. Although I do think there is a lot of alpha and also, or like, benefit to meeting people in person still, like, cold approaching. I think, with dating apps, like there's just so many people on there and, people get a lot of fatigue.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, the frustration, especially for men, is they're doing a whole lot of chasing and not a lot of captivating. It seems like I can swipe right on everything with a skirt and then nobody responds. And all the women think everybody in the world thinks they're hot. So they're going and choosing the Disney princes out of the 500 guys who have swiped on them. And meanwhile, those guys are actually in reality looking for someone a lot hotter than she is. So everybody's kind of delusional when it comes to using the apps in particular. I mean, long form sites like Match and so forth, they're even subject to AI manipulation nowadays, especially like Match and even to some degree Hinge, because you can craft the narrative with ChatGPT and make yourself sound like a genius, even if you're illiterate. So I am very reticent to be bullish on AI. I am like you, thinking that nothing's ever going to replace good old socialization in real life. I think during COVID, we got used to being locked down, which is something we've talked about at length on this show. But people are just starving to meet again in real life. Yet at the same time, online dating and apps, and for that matter, social media is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. That Pandora's box has been opened and unleashed onto the world. So we're going to have to learn how to peacefully coexist with this. So my initial hesitance towards AI has really evolved more to, well, what can I do with AI that's actually ethical and useful rather than just trying to swindle people into sitting in front of me on a first date where everybody's just going to be disappointed. So I think that's where most people are. That's where their heads are at right now, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the other thing is that people do value authenticity. Like that will not go away. And so I think what's going to happen with AI is, AI, people who are working on AI products are going to try to allow people to become more authentic versions of themselves rather than less genuine, because companies build what, people want and what consumers want. And, thus, I think over time, we're actually going to get AI that is going to sort of maybe magnify and, enhance your authenticity rather than the other way around.
Well, magnifying and enhancing one's authenticity sounds like an oxymoron, I got to admit.
Yeah, well, I'd say one example is maybe you like to go, deep sea fishing, but you don't really have a great photo of yourself doing that. And so if you can maybe create a photo of yourself doing that, I wouldn't say that's, not authentic. Maybe the photo was not real, but, that is who you are. That is, you are a deep sea fisher, right? And so likewise, I think as long as, the photos that we generate of people don't look like, somebody else, I think they're actually able to, just be a, net positive.
Yeah, I get it, because you go deep sea fishing and there's sun glare and you're squinting and you get, raccoon sunburn after 3 or 4 hours of it and you just don't look like yourself. At least with your product, for example, you can have a legitimate picture of yourself that looks like you, but the lighting isn't all out of whack and, the background's pretty perfect. Yeah, I could see that. I think your company definitely represents part of the solution in terms of having AI sort of, well, for lack of a better word, calm down and not try to show off so much and just, okay, here's what you look like. You still have the freckles in all the right places and no one, made your nose smaller or whatever. I didn't filter my eye color or anything like that to misrepresent myself on the photos. It's just simply what Aragon's actually doing, in my estimation, is creating pictures of who you actually are, just making sure the lighting is correct and the background's right and you look like your best self. And I think that's no different than what people have done for years. So it isn't so much about being fake as really just being less costly, more convenient, and less time consuming. Those are great things, all three.
Yeah. We actually used to have a few different styles, we have a lot of styles now, but in the past we had some styles that could turn you into more cartoon looking, anime looking, sort of looking less real. And, people always chose the more realistic ones. And so that's what we focused on. And so, we really try really hard to make sure that the photos look exactly like you and, maybe just like a better version as Scott, you were saying. So
yeah, well, that's your guys' gig. I mean, you have a niche and you're fulfilling it. And I think it's very well targeted for these guys. His name is Wesley Tian. He's the co-founder and CEO of Aragon.ai. And you guys, you know what? Go ahead and give it a try. Use that coupon code MOUNTAIN25 and get you some at mountaintopodcast.com/Aragon, Aragon. Wesley, thank you so much for stopping by today. It's been a great conversation and certainly a unique one. And I do hope these guys will try your program.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on, Scott.
Oh, yeah, man, absolutely. And you're welcome. And you know what? I'm going to keep an eye on what you guys are doing over at Aragon and kind of keep tabs on you because it's very interesting. All right, guys, if you haven't in a long time, be sure to head over to mountaintoppodcast.com. Check out all the replays of all the previous shows. I don't talk about that as much as I should, but you can see what our guests look like, including Wesley Tian himself. And you can also download a free copy of my book, Sticking Points Solved. Our 3 longtime sponsors are Jocko Willink's company, Origin in Maine, The Key Port, and also Hero Soap. When you partake of anything from our 3 illustrious sponsors, please use the coupon code MOUNTAIN10 to get 10% off. And guys, I'm always happy to talk to you. Get on my calendar. Let's have a conversation. Won't cost you a dime. We can talk about how you're going to get better with women. And if it makes sense to put together a coaching program, well, we'll talk about that too. All of that and more is there for you at mountaintoppodcast.com. And until I talk to you again real soon, this is Scott McKay from X&Y Communications in San Antonio, Texas. Be good out there.
The Mountaintop Podcast is produced by X&Y Communications. All rights reserved worldwide. Be sure to visit www.mountaintoppodcast.com for show notes. And while you're there, sign up for the free X&Y Communications newsletter for men. This is Ed Roy Odom speaking for the Mountaintop Podcast.